Welcome to They Said, She Heard, the podcast where words become turning points. I am your host, Samantha Gibson. Here we talk with leaders, dreamers, and change makers about one simple question. What was said to you, and how did it move you forward, set you back, or make you rebuild? Because sometimes the words that break us are the same ones that build who we become. You guys, I want to first start by thanking Great American Title out here in Phoenix, Arizona, off Tatum Boulevard and the 101 in Desert Ridge. They have ever so humbly, and thank the Lord for it, given me this podcast studio to do my recordings. I am very thankful. Anytime that you have residential title needs, commercial title needs, they are the team. I have been working with them for numerous years. So please consider them, and I will make sure to tag them on my social media as well. Shout out. I want to give a shout out to all of my guests so far. When I got started with the podcast, I knew I wanted to do a podcast. I was a little anxious, and I'm going to be asking people to be my guest. And you always have in the back of your mind that they might say no, or they're too busy, or not see value in this heart project, because it's not something that I monetize. It is something that I am doing because I believe in something bigger than myself. And I really have just this personal calling that I want to make a difference in the world. And those of you that know me know that. So every single guest that I have asked if they would be on my podcast, every single one of them, you guys, has said yes. So I want to thank every single one of them. Their stories, their shares have made just such an impact in a very short amount of time. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that I had the courage to ask them, but I am really, really grateful that they responded that they would. So all of you that have been on the podcast so far, thank you, thank you, thank you. I can truly and honestly say without you, there would be no podcast. There would be no success. I did the very first episode of They Said, She Heard. I interviewed myself, and I forgot a combination of I forgot and then a little bit of I didn't forget. I just didn't think about it, was the having someone interview me part of it, right? Interesting enough, now several weeks have gone by, and there are days, like even today, getting ready this morning, last night when I went to bed, I was like, oh my gosh, I actually have a podcast. That's pretty incredible. I had told myself, a lingering goal, if you will. I've wanted to do a podcast, but I want to put a book out there. And there, my past and my present, quite honestly, there are a lot of things that I share pretty candidly, pretty openly on social media, but then there's these other parts of my life that I recognize and see I'm not quite ready to share yet, for numerous reasons. One of the biggest reasons that I'm not quite ready to share yet is I still live in this middle area of my life where I am very much an entrepreneur, but I am a single mom, and the world, the economy, all these moving things are just really shifting in a way that there are many days that I'm scared. I'm this fear of, should I stay an entrepreneur, a 1099, if you will, or do I need to go find a W-2 job again? I've worked W-2 jobs. I've worked for some really great companies. I've worked for some not great companies too, but I've worked for some great companies and great leadership and not great leadership. So there's this fine line of me where I feel I've been in this stage the last probably couple months for sure of, am I passing the point of no return where I won't be able to be W-2 anymore because I've got a podcast, because I'm sharing about some heavy topics that the workplace may not want to talk about if you are an employee side of it. It's different if you are a consultant or a neutral third party or just posting on LinkedIn. And so I'm in this influx, right? I'm learning a lot of things about me this year when Michael, my first ex-husband, passed away earlier this year in July, I've said this before, and I say this on my social media platforms. No one prepares you to lose an ex-spouse that you happen to really care a lot about, and they care a lot about you. No one prepares you for that. They prepare you for missing a loved one or a husband or an aunt, an uncle, a mom, a dad, a sibling, But what about the ex-spouse that you get along with? God, help me. So I'm learning a lot about myself. I'm learning a lot about the promises that we made. I'm learning a lot about my strength. I'm learning a lot about my boundaries. I'm learning a lot, ... fill in the blank. And so because of that, I find myself in this season of trying not to hold back, and yet I recognize and see myself holding back. And I think that that's something really important to talk about. In the workplace, when you are working for someone, and to a certain extent, even if you are your own business owner, if you will, if you're your own entrepreneur, it's as if we walk this fine line of speaking our truth, but just saying enough for what the world wants to hear and not overstepping. And I find that very hard. I am wired to live my life very transparently. I am wired to be very forthcoming. I am wired. And the more that I've been going through this year, the more I recognize that about myself. And I used to feel really bad about that. I used to feel really bad that when somebody would ask me my opinion in the workplace, I would be very honest with them. And I believe, again, I'm not all about just vomiting problems. I believe that if I'm going to talk about a problem, I'm going to bring forth some solutions, some proposed solutions. Not that we have to take my ideas, but at least we get started from somewhere. I'm not one of those of problem, and blah, blah, blah. And okay, well, you just vomited all of this to me. And what solution did you bring? Nothing. No, we'll bring solutions. And I've trained any team that I've ever led. I've also taught them to be A, resourceful, B, if you're going to bring me a problem, I need at least 2 to 3 proposed solutions so we have some kind of starting point. But, I realize that we just don't talk about certain things anymore. And, I don't know the answer if I'll ever be welcomed into the W-2 world again. I don't know the answer to that. I would like to think that a combination of my wisdom, my expertise, my resume allows the door to stay, even if slightly open. But what is really important to me, though, because when you have a calling, sometimes that calling can sound and feel really scary inside, because oftentimes you're like, why was I chosen for this calling? I didn't want this. I didn't ask to go be a disruptor in the workplace. I didn't go ask to be a disruptor in the world. I didn't ask to be a disruptor on social media, or just, I didn't ask to be a disruptor, right? Do you ever have those moments where you're just like, hello, I think, Lord, you got the wrong person. Or, hey, universe, I think you met that person next door to me, not me. You have got me mistaken. I don't even possess I'm not equipped to do those things that you're asking of me. Do you ever have those moments? I have those moments. And I will certainly tell you this. The more that I am learning about myself, the more I'm digging in on that book. I tell you guys about it, I think, week over week now, the U-Turn book by Ashley Stahl. It is really helping me learn myself differently. And it's helping me explore the courage that I have within myself. And what I'm recognizing is I have this calling, and I keep trying to ignore it. For years, I've tried to ignore it. For years and years, I've been told, you're the square peg in a round hole, or Sam, you're before our time. We want you, but we don't know where to put you, or whatever. Within the workplace, it's like this, I don't know, Great Dane puppy phase, where it's like your body, like everything about it just doesn't align, and you feel misplaced. And I think that oftentimes in the workplace, leadership does a very poor job of communicating, because they tell the human being in such a way, almost like they dehumanize it. Like, did you forget I'm a human being? When you tell another human that they don't belong, or you don't know what to do with them, I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you're at the beginning stages of your career, or if you are in the latter part of yours, or anything in between. what that does to a person, it says you don't belong. Human beings are wired to want to belong. They're just wired to want to belong. And I'm learning, the more, again, that I'm doing the podcast, the more that I am starting to share some different things now that I'm working towards family court reform. I really believe in that mission. Part of I've stepped back in some ways because I'm trying to methodically figure out, okay, family court reform is so broad. How do I go and I dig in the trenches? Well, part of that is sharing my story, sharing facts, true, documented, black and white proof facts. That's intimidating in itself. And those of you that go through high conflict co-parenting or have been through the family court system, you guys know exactly what I'm saying without even getting in the weeds of the details of all of that. It is stuff that the average human being, if you only knew the real day-to-day lack of quality of life in that alone, your brain can't even, your brain cells can't even fathom that would be somebody's everyday today. So I deal with those traumas. I deal with that heavy. Plus I'm trying to be an entrepreneur. I'm a mom. all these different things, right? And trying to find your balance through that. Trying to, I say often, it's especially in the family court system, I always find it interesting, and it's parallel to corporate America, to the business world. It's like, I'm going to use the court thing for a second. I'm going to go backwards to go forward here. But for example, it's the, in my case, over the last few years, I've spent truly 6 figures trying to get the other side to comply to a decree and to a parenting plan. Okay, well, but I'm also expected to work. I'm expected to pay the boys' health insurance, child support, mental health is supposed to fit somewhere there. Sanity is supposed to fit somewhere there. Dealing with incessant messages nonstop. You're supposed to be smiling. You're supposed to be healthy. You're supposed to thrive for your children. You're supposed to be a good parent. They're not supposed to see you hurt. And again, did I mention work full time? Where on earth do you fit all those things? Well, the same thing applies on the work side. I think that I am, my mission, something I really want to do. And I was talking to somebody a few weeks ago. I said, I cannot wait for the first brave company to hire me on as their consultant for this. I said, I want a company that puts their mission where their mouth is. And y'all, that is bold. I understand. But put your mission where your mouth is, because so many people have these mission statements about their people or their clients or yada, yada. Okay, well, what are you truly doing to achieve that mission every single day? Because to me, I look at it this way. I am one of the hardest workers you are ever going to meet in your whole life. I've got a very good professional reputation. I would like to think I've got a great personal reputation too. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong out there in the world, but I do believe these things to be truth. And because of those things, you would never know that I've got all of these heavy things. You would never have known that, Michael passed away earlier this year, and now I'm dealing with the challenges of my older kids trying to find their new normal, kind of running out the nest, running in the nest, and everything in between. You would never know that, because on my social media, I'm smiling, I'm promoting business, I'm helping connect people to each other, and so on. I would love to find a company that is willing to say, hey, Sam, how can we build a thriving community to execute our mission statement day over day? Because to me, what that means, for example, and I use the court thing as an example, but say somebody has to go to court. So often we live in this parallel world of, okay, I need my job, so I can't say that something's going on because they're going to think that's too much drama and they're going to fire me. But then it's because I can't tell them, I can't get my shift covered, so I'm going to either need to pretend I'm sick or something going on because I need to get to court, or you miss your court date because you're worried that you're going to lose your job. Do you see what I'm saying? All this circus of prioritization. I think when a company can give a safe space and tell their people, hey, we see you. If there's ever a situation where, for example, there's a family court case, because usually it's involving children or something. And usually when we're going to court this many times, y'all, it is high conflict, and data statistically shows this from around the world, not just the US. These are patterns. There's something called coercive control, post-separation abuse. If you guys would like your worlds rocked, as from an employer perspective, if you really want to understand some of what your employees are going through, I encourage you to look into complex PTSD, coercive control, post-separation abuse, and really start studying that. As a leader, I think it's one of the absolute best things you will be able to do, because you will then understand why it is so critically important to offer resources for your people. Because if you had an employer, for example, that said, hey, I know you've got family court in 2 weeks, go ahead and take the day off. For that person to have the knowledge, knowing that they have some breathing room to go take care of court for the sake of their children and themselves, and then saying, hey, if for any reason, so traumatizing, you can't come to work the next day, that's okay. Day 3, you're going to have your job. Just go take care of that. Giving somebody that breathing space, right? Or, for example, when you study complex PTSD, you study the post-separation abuse and all these other things, and then just mental health, whether somebody is neurodivergent, whether they struggle with ADHD, ADHD, ADD, anxiety, whatever. Something as simple as, like, today, I'm in this podcast studio, you guys, but this room, if you didn't have the bright lights on and it was just a room and a space, what that does to the nervous system for an employee, to give somebody something as special as that, where, hey, bring your computer into the quiet room, right? The serene room, and just get your work done. Productivity would exponentially exceed what we currently see. Burnout would significantly reduce. Retention of your employees would sustain. All because we choose to be more cognizant and aware of what is taking place in people's life. So today, again, I share that thought. It might resonate with some, it might not. That's okay. I'm not here to get 100% of everyone in the podcast world, but I am here to make a difference, at least in one person's life, over the course of this podcast. And if you were a leader, if you are curious how to help your people, truly help them, sincerely have a desire to make a difference in the world of your staff, and because of that, in return with your clients, let me know. I would love the opportunity to consult with you. I would love the opportunity to get together for coffee, do a virtual. I'm able to help anybody. I'm bilingual, so anybody that is Spanish speaking. I don't know other languages. Spanish and English are my jam, but I am more than more than happy, let me say, to help how I can that way. And, I just want to remind you today, I see you, I love you, you matter. I say that week over week, but I think it's really important. So many of us don't have the environment that reminds us that we are seen, we are validated, and we are heard. So I hope this place has become a home for you. I hope that it gives you reprieve and safety to talk about these topics that a lot of people won't. If you know somebody going through something and you feel that these messages could encourage them or inspire them, please share them. If you have an HR department that you want them to start getting curious about how can we do things outside of an HR manual, let me know. Share this with them. Tag me, comment, reach out. Again, in order for us to make a difference in the world, we all have to come together to start working together to make that difference in that world of that person. So I will see you later. And with that, I will talk to you soon. Bye.